Hannah Arendt makes distinction or classifies human activities in terms of these three: labor, work, and action. This she does in her book, The Human Condition. Human Condition. Many have talked about labor before and expressed certain theories, but nobody classified activities in terms of these detailed categories. There is some significance to this kind of categorization. So that is why this triad of concepts, labor, work, and action, have come to occupy some importance in political theory. First, let us see what is the difference between labor and work. Labor and work, what is the difference? Labor and work. Hannah believes that labor is very repetitive and easily destroyed by consumption. Take for example a maid's work. A maid's work is labor. Cleaning, washing, it's done one day and then they again become unclean and you have to wash again and clean again. Labor is one such. Whereas work leaves some permanent things, anything that is fabricated, manufactured is work. So if there are husband and wife husband is going out to work as an engineer or as a worker or a manager, say of an iPhone company. He is producing something which has some permanency, an iPhone. Whereas, assume his wife staying at home, doing simply cooking, cleaning, then this is not any permanent work. It has to be done every day. So Arendt thinks wife is doing labor and husband is doing work. And you know, as she says, the difference between animal and man is that animal is only involved in labor because it is consuming and maintaining itself. It is not building up anything. It is not building up anything. So the lines continue to live the way they lived long ago. There is no progress. Whereas what is man doing? Man not only does labor, but he also does work, which means he leaves certain things, he leaves tools. Okay, with the tools he produces some other things, he produces more tools, science and technology. So, civilization. So, human civilization is a work in progress, because it is accumulative. It is accumulative. Unlike labor done by the animals, which are not progressing at all. So, Hana prioritizes work compared to labor. Work is progressive, work is constructive, work is additive, accumulative, and labor is not. But note that she is not saying that labor is not needed, but she is just saying that there are two kinds. Work is more human, unique to humans, whereas labor is common with animals. We need to look at the implications of this distinction. For example, in this book, The Second Sex, Simone de Beauvoir writes that, of course, this is before 1949, writes that few tasks are more the torture of Sisyphus than housework. With its endless repetition, the clean becomes soiled, the soiled is made clean over and over, day after day. She is talking in the context of gender relations. Arendt would call this labor, which is repetitive, which doesn't add up to anything. So Simone de Beauvoir says that woman is more involved in this, and so their contribution, so the work is of more inferior kind, because of which her position in the society also is affected. But Arendt is not talking about gender relations. Arendt is talking about in general. Hers is not a case about gender in relationship in particular. So, work and labor goes beyond the gender distinction. That is what Arendt is interested in. So this is what said. This is what Arendt said on labor. It is indeed the mark of all laboring that it leaves nothing behind, that the results of its effort is almost as quickly consumed as the effort is spent. Food is made and eaten, it's over. And yet this effort, despite its futility, is born of a great urgency and motivated by a more powerful drive than anything else, because life itself depends upon it. So, many crucial activities related to life's biological process, be it eating, taking care of health require labor, and they are more urgent. There would be nothing but changeless eternal recurrence, the deathless everlastingness of the human as of all other animal species. If only labor was there, there would be nothing but this. But then man has not only labor but also work. So Arendt introduced the concept of work. What is this work? The work refers to the process of making is itself entirely determined by the categories of means and end. So making refers to work. The fabricated thing, an iPhone, is an end product of the twofold sense that the production process comes to an end in it, and that it is only a means to produce this end. So much activity is involved, and finally an iPhone is made. iPhone is made. So this is called work. There is an ending in making this iPhone. There is no ending to cooking, cleaning. And this iPhone can be used and for many purposes. Labor caught in the cyclical movement of the body's life process has neither a beginning nor an end. Okay. Arendt, why is she doing this? Arendt thinks that sometimes people don't make this distinction between labor and work, and because they don't make the distinction, their analysis is not accurate and up to the point. This is what Arendt has to say on Marx. She said, the modern age, and Karl Marx in particular, had an almost irresistible tendency to look upon all labor as work. All labor as work. And to speak of the animal laborants in terms much more fitting for Homo faber. Animal laborants are doing labor and Homo faber are doing work, hoping all the time that only one more step was needed to eliminate labor and necessity altogether. Marx was visualizing a particular kind of society, particular kind of human activity, but without making a clear distinction between labor and work, because if you don't make the distinction, you don't understand, for example, what can be eliminated? What can be eliminated in communism? Okay, for example, cooking and cleaning are not going to be eliminated in communism. Or how to allot work or labor, and to whom? The level of satisfaction is different. So definitely work is more satisfying than labor. So what does Marx have to say on this? So if one is interested in answering these questions on the allocation or even about wages or income inequalities income inequalities or job enrichment, one has to make the distinction between labor and work, and he can't equate all into one. So this is what Arendt is saying. Marx has some idea of change in the nature of work, change in the nature of human activity, the desirable change, but he is not very, he's, because of lack of classification, he tends to be crude. For example, Marx writes, for example, the realm of freedom actually begins only where labor, which is determined by necessity and mundane considerations, ceases. So labor which is determined by necessity and mundane considerations is actually Arendt's labor also. So Marx knows that labor should change, but he is not specifying what kind of labor should give rise to what kind of labor. It is just that Arendt thinks through classification, she is bringing more accuracy to the analysis of activity. Okay, so that is about labor and work. Then, apart from labor and work, Arendt introduces some other thing called action. What is the action component? Action component is on much higher side of man. Higher side of man. It is beyond or above production for use. Making of iPhone comes under work and not action. Action is a contribution to the way we think. The way we think. Okay. Very innovative. Something new. Surely, Arendt's classification of labor, work and action, classification of these three, labor, work and action can be regarded as action examples itself. Because Arendt is proposing a way to think newly and so that others can work out implications of it. Arendt hasn't produced some product which we will use and produce some more products. So, action is not utilitarian. It is not about or using, consuming. It is something much more. And Arendt also says that action has a person's identity or signature. For example, this triad is Arendt's idea. So, action contributes more, and it is in that sense it makes a person more human. So in that sense, action is more than work more than labor. So it is from animal origins to becoming man more of a human being, or So it is too human. So this is what she thinks. Now let us see her definitions on action. She says, in acting and speaking, men show who they are, reveal actively their unique personal identities, and thus make their appearance in the human world. Without the disclosure of the agent in the act, action loses its specific character. This is Arendt classification of labor and action and work. It is Arendt's. So, person is involved. Action has the character of startling unexpectedness, inherent in all beginnings and in all origins. Unlike labor and work, action reveals a living essence of the person. Okay. And she says, action can be neither the driving force of necessity of biological life and labor, nor the utilitarian instrumentalism of fabrication and usage. Action is not simply instrumentalist. Action makes human life what it is supposed to, what it is supposed to be. It is not simply about technical, it can be political, economic, science and technology, it can be religious. These are all actions. Books, great books, are works of action. Homo faber is the one who is doing the work as opposed to action. He is just as incapable of understanding meaning as the animal laborants. Animal laborants are doing only labor. He is incapable of understanding instrumentality. Work creates products that are instrumental in something else. But action is not about instrumentality. Action can be about the end of the purpose of life, the ends of life.